Tankers, I'm Blitz, and today I'm going to be talking about the VK16801P. However, this is not going to be my traditional tank review. Normally, I'll tell you about the statistics of the tank, the armor profile, how I play it, how I run it, and whether or not it is worth the price tag listed. However, for this tank, there is no reason to go into any of the numbers or the statistics or anything like that, because I know right off the bat that this is probably the worst tier 8 premium you can buy. In fact, the Tech Tree VK100-01P is about 5,000 times better than this vehicle in almost every single aspect. So instead of telling you guys why I think this is actually a good tank, in this video I'm going to be doing the opposite and telling you why I think this is just a terrible tank that you should never even think about spending a dime on. In the title of the tank, it weighs 168 tons, and yeah, while weighing the most at tier 8 might be something cool, it does come with a huge amount of drawbacks. First of all, even though it does have 1,720 horsepower, it only goes to top speed of 20 kilometers per hour, which is not going to get you anywhere, anytime on the map. As well, it is the largest vehicle at tier 8. It pretty much blocks out the sun when you are driving it down the road. An E100 even looks small compared to this vehicle. That's just how large this tank is. And because of that, it is so easy to get spotted halfway across the map by people you can't see, constantly shooting at you. There's AGTMs shooting missiles in the sky. Your armor is completely useless. You're going to see I'm going to bring up the armor profile in a moment, and the armor can't bounce crap. And that's something that's just really bad about the vehicle. You'd think when you have a tank that weighs 168 tons, 20 tons less than a tier 10 mouse, it would have spectacular armor, but it has so many weak spots. When we do take a look at the armor profile of this tank, you can see it has its fair share of weak spots. First of all, it's got that tumor sticking out right on the top of the tank. In my opinion, it shouldn't be there at all, but it's only sitting around 120 millimeters thick, which really isn't going to be bouncing anything anytime. And the issue with that is, you know, if it was a small cupola or it was a mobile tank, that wouldn't be a huge issue, because of course, you just back up, go forward, stuff like that, try to dodge the shells. But when you're in a tank that goes 20 kilometers per hour, it is the biggest, slowest tank on the battlefield. It is such an easy shot to hit that cupola, and because this vehicle is so tall, it's almost always sticking out on pretty much any spot it's trying to side scrape, hide its hull, it's always sticking out there. As well, if the tank becomes aggressive, tries to face hug you, thinks, well, it's not going to be able to penetrate my upper plate as long as I hide the lower plate, well, you would be wrong, because you got this huge gunner port right on the front of the tank. Very easy penetrations, again, only 140 millimeters thick. Like, come on, it's so easy to penetrate the front. Then, again, that lower plate, 128, like, really? Tier 7's easily going to pen that even with the stock gun. And the thing that makes the VK100 so strong is when you're looking at the VK100's armor profile, you know, it doesn't look that much stronger from the front. You got that cupola, which, you know, it's saying about 0 there for some reason, but it's about 175 millimeters thick. The edges of it are still very thick as well, 250 millimeters. It's actually going to get some troll ricochets. I actually find it sometimes a bit of a struggle to penetrate the cupola of a VK100. But the thing about the 100, first of all, is its upper plate is way thicker because it doesn't have that gunner port. But as well, the main difference is you can see, in a VK100, if you want to shoot at your enemy, you just want to use the little curvature of where the tracks meet the side armor, and that's really where you're going to be about 280 millimeters thick on the side and still about 240 millimeters on the front. And what that means is you're going to be bouncing pretty much all the rounds that are going through your tracks, because the shells have to travel through your tracks to hit your hull armor, or, you know, they're going to have to get through the side armor as well, because tracks count as spaced armor. Heat rounds aren't getting through them. That's what makes the VK100 such a thick tank, is because it has so much spaced armor. It's so hard to get through those big, thick German tracks. But then you look at the VK168, and, well, yeah, these are not big, thick German tracks. It's like they took tracks from a Centurion tank and threw them on this vehicle to save money or something, because it's 150 millimeters thick, aiming right through the frontal track wheel. And that's not going to bounce anything. I've got no clue why Wargaming would make it so weak on the frontal armor of this tank. How are you supposed to run this vehicle if you can't pull out? You've got to pull out at an angle like this, but by then you can pretty much shoot the, you know, the lower plate on this vehicle. As well, it's got these huge weak cheeks on it. Even when you do try and angle it, you can see you can get a pretty good angle, but as soon look, you got that huge cupola sticking right out of the top again, so you can't hide pretty much any of the armor on this vehicle if you're out in the open. It's got these big blaring weaknesses. You really don't have that on a tank like the VK100, because while it does have the same cheek thickness at about 231, you can see it's just such a smaller target. And that's why the tank is just way better. As well, when you look at a VK side armor, you can see it's actually at a bit of a slant. Well, you don't really get that on a 168. It's literally a complete flat pane, and what that means is it's extremely easy to penetrate the tank. You can just see the size difference from a VK100 and a VK168. It is almost monumental. The turret on this tank is huge, so it is never really going to bounce shells, and that's the issue with the vehicle for me, is it has so little hit points as well, 1470. Now that is going to change very, very soon, about 1950, but again, all the other heavies are receiving a huge hit point buff as well, so really the armor profile on this tank is nothing to brag about. In fact, I would feel safer running an IS-5 than I would running this tank trying to bounce shells. And just to give you an example of how bad this tank is, this morning when I started playing this vehicle, I had my W8 sitting at around 3,500. And when I finished my 20 games I did in this tank to get out some decent gameplay for you guys, I had a W8 of around 3,200. I lost 300 points in the span of about an hour of playing, which is ridiculous. You shouldn't be able to do that, but this tank does so poor. There's really nothing you can do but lose in this tank. It's slow, so what that means is if your team doesn't like you and they want to push the medium side, well, good luck. And it's not like you've got decent side armor, you can bounce shells like a VK100. No, you're not going to bounce shells in this tank. I was up against the same Kampfpanzer player over and over every game, and he just kept penning the frontal track wheel on my tank. I couldn't angle it, I couldn't do anything, and I couldn't even pen him because this gun is so inaccurate. It does have a decent aiming time, but the dispersion value, after they nerfed the VK100, they gave this tank the exact same dispersion. So it's not very accurate, which is surprising judging that it is the exact same gun pretty much as a Ferdinand. But it's just not a fun tank to run. Half the games you're going to play in this tank, your team's going to leave you, you're either going to get killed by the heavies because they push through, or the mediums are easily just going to flank behind you and shoot you in your massive butt on this tank, or you're going to push heavy side, be all aggressive, thinking that you're the heaviest tank pretty much on the battlefield, and then you get penned by every single tank on the enemy side with pretty much relative ease, and then you're dead. And that's pretty much about 50% of the games I play in this tank. I had to play 20 games to get 2 decent ones out for you, and do not fall for the gameplay you're seeing. When I say this tank does not bounce, you're just seeing some really lucky gameplay where people honestly don't know how to penetrate the armor. This tank hasn't been sold in a while, so a lot of people that are coming up against it now really don't know much about the tank. They don't know the weak spots. And yeah, I guess while that could be a bonus, it's going to be very, very easy to learn, oh look, I shot it right in the track wheel and it penned. Let me try again. And that's pretty much all you need to learn is how to penetrate this tank. It requires 0 skill to pen it, and honestly, if you're buying this tank, you are actually paying to lose the game. Your win rate will go down if you buy this tank. Your average damage will go down if you buy this tank. And there's no point to buy it, because you can literally get a tech tree version of it, the VK100 which is a smaller target. It's got better terrain resistance. While it doesn't have as much engine power, it also doesn't weigh 168 tons, so it actually goes up hills a little bit better. As well, the gun is a little bit better in my opinion on the accuracy, and the tank isn't the ugliest big box in the battlefield. I thought the Churchill game carrier was one of the ugliest tanks in the game. And then I saw this thing coming into Blitz, and I knew about it on World of Tanks PC. And I was actually pretty excited for it, because I was like, a tier 8 mouse, that's something that I've been waiting for, that's something that's going to be really fun. I like the VK100, but I just wanted to smash into enemies, just completely run them off the map in a tank like the VK168. And they released it into Blitz, and I was so disappointed when I watched Mitsu's video, and he's like, well, it's got this huge weak spot right in the front track wheel. And I don't know why Wargaming won't buff it. That's the thing that I don't understand. It's a premium tank that's obviously underperforming. Every CC is saying that it sucks. All the YouTubers, all the community know that this tank is one of the worst tanks to buy in the game. You're literally paying to lose. But yet Wargaming won't buff it. And yet they have tanks like the Sheridan and the Smasher in the game. And I honestly have no clue how they can allow certain things to be some ways, but yet they won't even touch this tank, but yet they'll sell it in the store because they want to make money. So they're probably like, well, let's just sell this tank, make a few bucks. We don't need to buff it. Who really cares? In my opinion, if I was working under Wargaming, I would immediately buff this tank, fix that lower plate, get rid of that cupola, make it a fun vehicle to run, because seeing these on the battlefield would actually be kind of funny. It's kind of a meme tank just because of how big it is, how ugly it is. And I want to like the vehicle. That's the thing about it. I really do want to enjoy it, but I just don't. It's something that really irritates me. I'm pretty sure all of you guys do get the message I'm trying to convey in this video. If you still are obligated to buy this tank and determined to prove me wrong and think that it's a strong tank, well, you're going to be in for a very, very depressing surprise. But other than that, guys, I really hope you did enjoy this video. As always, make sure to smash that like button down below if you did. If you're not subscribed already, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, especially if you've stuck all the way to the end of the video. Other than that, though, I'll see you in the next one. Stay healthy and stay safe.